Welcome to Candlewick Library. I'm Cheryl. Today I'm doing my last video on adaptations. I'm going to be talking about the adaptations I wish that someone would make. Number one is The Green Ember. If you haven't read the Green Ember series, these are books about bunnies. I think the tagline is bunnies with swords. And so it's bunnies that are fighting against wolves and birds of prey. This was something we read aloud as a family, and it was a really fun experience. I enjoyed them. These books are full of adventure. They have a lot of heart. And I think that they would make a really great animated series, kind of like the Angel Studios has done with Wing Feather Saga, if you've seen those. I think that they would be so entertaining and fun if they did it right. Number two is A Place to Hang the Moon. This is such a sweet story, and I think World War II books and movies are so popular, and this book in particular was so popular. I think that they could easily make an adaptation of this. In this book, it's about children who are leaving London and going out into the countryside during World War II, and this particular set of two brothers and a sister. And it's such a heartwarming story. I feel like it would make a great movie if they did it right. Number three is A Night Divided. This tells the story of a family that lives behind the Berlin Wall and they want to escape to the other side. It was a very exciting book. It's one of our favorite school read-alouds we've done. And I think that this would make such a compelling movie. I just don't think that there's that much out there about the Berlin Wall and people trying to escape. And so I think it would be a really good idea to make something like this into a movie. Number four is Emily of New Moon. This is another series by Lucy Montgomery. This tells the story of Emily Starr. I mentioned in one of my other videos that there was an adaptation made of this, but I didn't like it. And so I wish that they would make a new adaptation of Emily of New Moon. And I think it would be better as a movie. They did that one as a TV series, but I think it would be better as a movie. It could be a longer movie, kind of like Anne of Green Gables is, where it's more like a mini series, but really they're just like two very long movies. I think they could do Emily that way, or do Emily in normal size movies and just do 2 or 3 of them. I think it would transfer better to that than it did to a series. Number five is The Goose Girl. I've talked about this book on here before. It is my favorite Shannon Hale book, and this is a retelling of The Goose Girl. This girl is supposed to be going to a neighboring kingdom to get married, and her handmaid basically steals her identity. And I think this would make an excellent movie. If they had the right casting, they had good sets, and they were able to tell the whole story as it is. I hesitate because there's a part of me that hopes that they never make some of these books into movies, and yet I really want them to at the same time. Goose Girl is one of them. I think it would make a really good movie. Number six is I wish that they would have finished the rest of Narnia. So I know that right now there is a new Narnia series coming out soon. I do not have high hopes for it. And yet, again, I'm hoping that it will be good. So we'll see. Maybe when that comes out, I will love it. Maybe I won't. I had hoped that they would make a series that was all of the books. Number seven is Fablehaven. These books are pretty popular, and I feel like Brandon Mull is a pretty popular middle grade author. In Fablehaven, it's a brother and sister that go to their grandparents' farm, not knowing that their grandparents are kind of caretakers of this magical place with fairies, and finding out all sorts of different creatures that exist, dragons, all of that. And the books are very fun, very magical, but it's kind of like Harry Potter, where it's just normal kids thrust into the situation instead of it just all being fantasy. And so I think that that would transfer very well to movies. Number eight is that I wish somebody would make a really good, faithful adaptation of Dracula. I talked about that a couple videos ago, that I have yet to see one that I feel like is a good representation of the book. So I'm still waiting on a good Dracula. Number nine, I actually don't know if it's ever been made into a movie, but The Westing Game. I feel like that would make a really fun movie because of having all of the people in that apartment building, and they're all trying to figure out these clues together and solve this mystery, this big puzzle, and the different personalities of the characters. I feel like that would transfer very well to a movie. Maybe it's already been done and I just haven't seen it, because it is an old book, so it feels like it's one that should have a movie. You can let me know if there is one, or I'll look it up, but I feel like that would make an excellent movie. Number 10 is the one that I would wish for the most, but also be the most scared of somebody making, and that is The Blue Castle by Lucy Montgomery. This is Lucy Montgomery's adult novel. It doesn't take place in Prince Edward Island. It is about a girl who is kind of just living her life the way everybody in her family expects her to, and you get her inner feelings. You see how different she is from them and how much she wants things to be different and doesn't feel like she can do anything about that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't read it yet, but something happens to her that makes her feel like she can start speaking her mind, living her life the way she wants to. I just really love this book. And I think I mentioned on here that my oldest daughter read it this year, and she said it was one of her favorite books that she's read and that she liked it better than Anne of Green Gables. So this is a book that, as far as I know, has never been made into a movie, and it could be an excellent movie if it was done in the same way the first Anne of Green Gables was. You know, if somebody really was willing to keep it as wholesome and good as it's supposed to be. So I really wish there was a really good Blue Castle. That just made me think of one that I didn't have on my list, and that is The Man in the Brown Suit from Agatha Christie. That is my favorite Agatha Christie book, and there was a movie made. Doug and I watched it a few years ago, and it was okay, but it definitely was nowhere near as good as the book. That is one of those adaptations where I wish I could go back in time and have them make it back then, because it would be the perfect book for a Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn movie. If they had made that movie with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, it would have been absolutely perfect. And then my final two that are kind of honorable mentions, they're not necessarily ones that I'm dying to have done, but I think that they would make good movies. One is Miss Newbury's List, and I know I've talked about that on here before, that this was a book that I wasn't sure I would like, but I really did. But I've heard other people on here that say that they didn't like this book. But I think it would make a good adaptation. It's about a girl who is supposed to be getting married, and she has made this list of things in her life that she wanted to do before she got married. And she enlists her friend and her friend's brother to help her do this list. And I actually think that this could be one of those movies that could end up being better than the book if somebody did it right, because it has a lot of potential for humor, just to be a really fun movie, kind of like Austenland is. The second one would be Ring of Secrets, and this is about the Culper Spy Ring. I've talked about this book on here this year, and this girl who is part of the Culper Spy Ring, and then there's a few other characters that are as well. And I think that the Culper Spy Ring seems to be a part of history that a lot of people I know don't know about. Kind of how popular the National Treasure was when it first came out. I think this could be the same kind of thing, to make a movie about this actual real spy ring that happened. And I don't foresee it being made into a movie, but I think it would be a really interesting one. In the comments, let me know if you have a favorite book that you really wish somebody would make an adaptation of, or if there's one that does have it that you wish they would redo because you didn't like the adaptation that was done. Or let me know if you are one of those people that just never wants them to make an adaptation of anything you love because of what they might do to it. I would love to hear your opinions on that.